G'day guys, you can call me Tayal. I figured I'd have a little bit of a try at a survival series. It's going to be a bit of a different one. I'm not doing any live commentary to start off with. This is just all voiceover to make it a little bit easier to do. Just film 2 or 3 days at a time and then go and edit it up and make it a little bit of a different style, so it's not just your average let's play. I'm a huge metal fan. I write lots of riffs and songs and stuff, so it's a little bit of an outlet for me as well. I put a few tracks in later in the video so you can get a little bit of a taste, but I'm going to try and put at least 1 or 2 into every video, make a little montage of some sort. For the main purpose, I think I'm going to do a lot of building stuff. I'm mainly a builder. I don't do any redstone or anything like that, like some of my mates, but I do like to build some cool shit. But without further ado, we need to get some resources, so we'll start off with our very first metal mining montage. Let's go! So I ended up finding myself about halfway up this cliff, so I figured I'd make it my mission to climb to the top and see what views lay ahead, see what things I can see from the top of this cliff. And it ended up being perfectly timed. It was right on sunset and I just saw this village off in the distance, so we are definitely going to go there later and pillage it, see what we can find. We end up getting a perfect little screenshot for our thumbnail as well. So the sun finally set, and I figured I'd make a little temporary base to try and survive the night, smelt up some of the resources that we got along the way, because we actually ended up with just enough for a set of iron armor and a shield and a sword. So it ended up being quite a clutch little situation. I ended up finding some zombies and I accidentally brought them over, so I was just able to make a shield in time to be able to fend them off and spend the whole night devouring their rotten flesh just to stay alive. So I'm going to let that whole little scenario play out for you guys. And it's going to be to the tune of a track that I wrote called Death in the Air. And it's a little bit of a different one. The story goes about a guy who ended up in a paragliding accident. He ends up in the hospital and wakes up from his coma. And he thinks he can smell breakfast or something when he wakes up. So he ends up going down the halls and he ends up finding himself in the morgue. That sweet smell that he was smelling was some rotten flesh. So he ends up can't help himself and starts devouring some rotten flesh. So I figured that would be the perfect tune for this night, where I spent the whole night surviving on rotten flesh myself. It's at this point that I noticed a whole bunch of creepers and skeletons around, so I thought, may as well try and get a music disc. what a first night. We ended up surviving it, and we ended up with a music disc. So I think that's pretty damn cool. So I figured I'd make a little bucket and try and make a little bit of a farm. See if I can get some bread or some wheat happening up here. At this point I was just had my mind set on food. And I find this one little lonely cow up here. There was no other little cows on this little plateau. Unfortunately, I would have bred them otherwise. So I ended up cleaning up a couple of spiders, and I had to rack up a couple of seeds and whatnot. I still forgot that I only had 2 bones at this time, so I ended up not even being able to use any of the wheat that I crafted. I got 2 wheat out of this whole thing, so this whole segment up here was a waste. But I did find another village off in the distance. I don't have my zoom mod working yet, so just use the FOV slider to zoom yourself in a little bit. Found another little spidey and a massive big cave system that we can check out later. Somebody can remind me to go back there in a couple episodes time. And I figured I'd show you guys at least one clip of me using the tree harvester mod, so you guys know that I am definitely using it. It's just going to make building and stuff a whole lot easier in the long run. Here we go, here's me finally getting into the farm, and I just realized I only got 2 wheat, so pretty much immediately I just planted the rest of these seeds and decided I'm going to try and find my way down and get to that village and get some proper food. So mine up these furnaces, get this crafting table. It actually took me quite a little while to find my way down. Once I found the actual staircase down to the cliff, it was easy, but it took me about 2 minutes to even find it. Ended up wandering down this cliff a little further, and I ended up stumbling upon some skeleton sounds. So I think there might be a dungeon or something around here. I couldn't see any caves or anything in the cliff around, so we're gonna have to check that out later. I ended up seeing some chickens on the way down. I was gonna let them go, but then I quickly changed my mind. And I also stumbled upon a couple wolves, which we'll have to go back for. There was another big cave down there. But after all that, I found my way to the village. But the first thing on the list was pillage all of the hay bales. So I ended up getting all of the hay bales that I could find in the entire village. I found a couple more pieces of bread to tie off my stash. And the sun was setting again, so I figured I'd check out the blacksmith, see what loot they had, and lo and behold, they had a diamond. So I knew exactly what I had to do. Packed up shop for the night, and I figured I was going to make a jukebox to try out this music disc. At least I was going to try and make a jukebox. I was getting ahead of myself. Thought it was going to be a really beautiful sounding music disc as well, because I forgot what it sounded like, but it ended up being our funeral theme. So I figured this is a perfect place to leave it. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.